Hey Tony, it's Friday, and I just had a wonderful walk around. I went to Forest Park because it's beautiful out here. Like it is gorgeous. It's 60. It's in the mid 60s, sunny skies. It's been a beautiful day. So Tony, first off, to answer your question of the week, I think your idea for your world does sound pretty cool. My only recommendation would probably be make it so those three islands are the only thing that's known on the world, and let there be like a whole bunch of exploration as well. Let it be let there be a bunch of giant other continents and such, because I think that'd be pretty cool. So now this week has been pretty busy. I ended up Taylor and I, as I mentioned, on Saturday ended up first going to Boston to PAX East to see a couple people there. Had a really good time. Ended up meeting Stephen George of Stephen Plays. We met Tom Fox. We met Chugga Conroy, and we met Stephen's wife Mal, and we also met Josh Jepson. They were all super cool people, and it was kind of funny. So we ended up actually getting to Boston about probably 11:30ish or so, and Spaz just bit me because he's a jerk. But we probably got to Boston around 11:30 or so. And we ended up walking to the convention center, and lo and behold, guess who just walked out? Stephen, Mal, Josh Jepson, and a couple others had just walked out. So we ended up actually being able to be some of the first to talk to them. And it was really cool. They were super approachable. They were super down to earth. It kind of felt cool because they're famous. You know, hundreds of thousands of people watch them on a regular basis on YouTube. And they were some of the coolest people I've ever met. Like, they felt just like everyone else, which I guess is the beauty of YouTube, is that everybody who's on there is just a regular person that got famous playing a video game or something like that. So we had a really good time there. Afterwards, we ended up actually going out to lunch to a really good Chinese place in Chinatown. So this was authentic Chinese food from an authentic Chinese restaurant. It was delicious. Ted and I just shared General Tso's chicken, and it was delicious. It was great. Some of the best Chinese I've had in a while. So we ended up going there. We ended up leaving Boston probably around 2ish or so. We ended up driving back here to Springfield because we had a dance we went to that night. It was the Barristers Ball, more or less the law school prom. We had a really good time. I pretty much just hung out with some of our friends. The music kind of sucked, but what can you do? It was in a super nice country club, actually, just because one of my classmates, his dad is the vice president of this country club, so it was high class. It was a pretty classy affair, and unfortunately Taylor's dress didn't fit her, so she had to just go in dress pants and a nice little cocktail skirt type thing. We had a good time. We ended up hanging out with a couple of our friends we hadn't spent too much time with this semester because it's been so busy. And so that was that. The rest of the week was pretty slow until yesterday and today. So if you remember last year, Tony, I remember talking a video about the Massachusetts Fair Housing Conference. Well, that was yesterday and today, and I went there again because I enjoyed it. It was what I do, and had a really good time actually. I think I enjoyed the conference a little more last year, which was nothing against any of the presenters this year. It's just I didn't learn much this year, whereas last year I learned a bunch because it was in a mix of because I did a mix of housing and civil rights law, and it was fascinating. I really enjoyed it. Whereas this year I kind of focused mostly on housing, which I'm somewhat regretting because I didn't really learn a whole lot. Because I know a little bit about housing law, if you didn't know. So I didn't enjoy it as much this year. And I think next year I'm probably going to focus mostly on the civil rights, because that's just stuff I don't know. I don't know much about civil rights law, so I really enjoyed it. And yesterday, actually, the Attorney General of Massachusetts, Maura Healey, who I am a pretty big fan of, was actually our keynote speaker yesterday morning. And she was having a fundraiser in Northampton, which is about a half hour away from Springfield. And I went up to her after her speech to thank her, because it was an excellent speech. And I got invited by the Attorney General to go to a Massachusetts Democratic Party meet and greet, basically. And when I got there, I was surrounded by all of the movers and shakers in the Democratic Party of Western Massachusetts, which was wild. Like, it's not very often where I feel a little, I guess, awestruck, for lack of a better term, but I was surrounded by the people who actually make decisions, or at least go through the financial support for the people who make decisions. So pretty important people within the Democratic Party, and it was cool. Like, yeah, I was not expecting to get invited because I didn't know about it until the conference, and I definitely was not expecting to just be surrounded by so many people. But it was a really good experience. Really, really cool people. And it makes me excited the fact that I'm getting more involved in the Western Mass Democratic Party. I'm actually going to be a delegate to this year's convention again, just like last year. And this year's convention is a little more important because this is actually this is where they're actually going to set their candidates and such. At least the people who are going to have the Democratic Party seal of approval, which means more like than not they're going to win the primaries and such, and actually go against people like Charlie Baker, the Massachusetts governor, and others in the elections, not next year, but in 2020. That was pretty interesting. Today we actually had another good speech from the Assistant Secretary of the Office of Housing and Urban Development. They're known as HUD. They do a lot of work. Particularly, they do a lot of subsidized housing and things such as that. And the person who came today was the assistant secretary of it, which was cool. Like, this woman knew so much and just told us a great story that really made us all like, everybody who was at the conference, we all stood up because it was just that incredible. So Tony, my question for you is, what's the next conference or convention you're going to? Tony, I'll see you on Tuesday. Later, bro.